I ran into a girl I grew up with from the same courtyard while carrying ribs out of the market. She spotted me, her eyes lighting up, and came over with a sigh. "Oh my, Nina. How many years has it been? Alex is still single, just waiting for you to come back." Alex was my former fiancé, almost the father of my child. Unfortunately, at the engagement banquet 5 years ago, he and his studies junior teamed up and turned me into a laughingstock among family and friends. He said I was a gold digger, treating him like a backup. He wished me and my sugar daddy a long and happy life. Then he put his arm around that Terry Jr. and walked away with such finality. I was so stunned I couldn't find my bearings. Where would I possibly have a sugar daddy? But there was no way to prove it. In the end, I left Jiang City clutching a belly full of grievance and a pregnancy test that had just shown 2 lines. "Alex has always had you in his heart," she said. "If you hadn't been vain and betrayed him back then, your 2 kids would just be running errands now. If you bow your head and admit your mistake, he'll carry you home in a grand procession right away." Bow my head? Admit my mistake? I almost laughed out loud. My daughter can already recite Tang poems. What marriage is there to be had? My childhood friend's mouth opened wide enough to swallow the egg in my hand. She looked at me as if she'd seen a ghost. "You actually got married?" I nodded. "My daughter is 3 already." "Your child is that old?" I couldn't be bothered with small talk. I nodded and started to leave. She grabbed my arm so hard her nails bit into me and it hurt. "No way, Nina. You're lying." She raised her voice, making the aunties buying vegetables nearby all prick up their ears. "Who didn't know back then that you loved Alex to death? His family was struggling, and you secretly worked 3 jobs to help his mother with the medical bills. You marry someone else? When pigs fly. We're childhood friends. I know you well enough. There's no need to put on." I frowned. Those old rotten grievances, hearing them now only made me sick. I loved him. Loved him enough to give my heart and lungs. But all of that went to the dogs. Why would I lie to you? I pulled my hand away from hers. My coolness felt like a probe into her lungs. "Then who is your man? What does he do? Is he more successful than Alex now? Does he earn more than him?" She fired off a rapid volley, her sense of superiority nearly overflowing. As if without Alex, I could only scrape by picking through trash. When Alex left me at the engagement party, she, my childhood friend, actually looked at me with contempt. Running into her today was really sickening. I didn't want to deal with her and tried hard to pull away, but she wouldn't relent, gripping me tight and refusing to let go. "Nah, are you still sulking? I know Alex was impulsive back then and embarrassed you, but it's been 5 years. Surely the anger should have faded. Don't you know how well Alex is doing now?" She went on, spitting as she spoke as if Alex were her man. He started that tech company with his buddies and went public. Now he's the CEO, young and successful. So many girls throw themselves at him. He's kept himself chaste for you. The only woman around him is that junior, Vivian, who's close because of work. Other women don't even look his way. Who in the circle doesn't praise him for being devoted? They say he's fallen into your trap and can't climb out for 5 years. Don't make a fuss. If you hadn't done what you did back then, it wouldn't have blown up like this. Listen to me. Go back and apologize quickly. Alex already said that as long as you apologize, he can let everything go. In all these years, I've never seen a man so devoted. You don't know. The Alex she described, devoted and wealthy like a lovesick fool waiting for the tide to turn, made me want to vomit. I remembered before leaving Jiangqing, seeing Alex being intimate with his junior from primary school. I thought of the phone call from Alex's mother, Grace. Her voice was still so soft, but her words were like knives. "Nina, Auntie knows you haven't had it easy." She sighed on the other end of the line. "That child Alex has a temper. He was too impulsive at the time. Even if you really had done such a thing, he shouldn't have humiliated you in public. It's Auntie's fault for not raising him properly. First a sweet remark, then the slap came. But still, you were wrong, too. I know our family's life hasn't been easy, but you can't humiliate Alex like that. Alex is at the stage of building his career. He's under a lot of pressure. What he needs is a wife who can help him, who can handle social situations, someone proper and dignified. Not. She didn't finish the sentence, but I understood what she meant. She was saying Alex needed a woman with a good reputation, not someone like me, too timing and fickle. I was holding the phone, silent. That girl Vivian, I think she's good, educated with some family background. She could look after Alex. As for you, your heart is in the right place. But never mind, whether I say it or not, I watched you grow up. How could you become like this? But I don't blame you anymore. You two can forget each other. That girl Vivian, I rather like her too. Don't blame me anymore. That girl Vivian, she rather likes him. So all my sincerity and sacrifice amounted to her saying, I don't blame you anymore. She had fallen for Alex's junior from primary school. My parents and she were old neighbors, long-standing friends. She practically watched me grow up. During the years Alex was starting his business, the money for her illness came from the extra jobs I took after work to help out. But decades of ties and my wholehearted efforts over the years earned me nothing more than her saying, I don't blame you anymore. Nina, did you hear me? My childhood friend nudged me, pulling my wandering thoughts back. Alex has got money if he wants it. Looks to boot and he doesn't forget you. Nah. If you marry an ordinary guy now, are you satisfied? Won't you regret it? Regret? I looked at her like she was a fool. I'm doing very well. I enunciated each word clearly. My life is none of anyone else's concern. After saying that, I shook her off completely and turned to leave. When I left Johning, I cut ties cleanly. I changed every contact, severed every connection. So, they probably all assumed I was still brooding in some corner, waiting for that one successful ex to remember me and throw me a scrap of his old affection. But what they couldn't imagine was this. My life had long since been rebooted. Alex was and is nothing more than my past tense. Walking to the entrance of the complex, I could hear my daughter's giggles from afar. She was straddling her father's shoulders, her little hand waving the wildflower she just picked. It's my husband, Ethan. When he saw me, his eyes curved into a smile. He carefully lifted our daughter down and took her hand as he walked toward me. Home pretty early today. He took the vegetables from my hands as if it were the most natural thing. Missed my baby girl, of course. I smiled and kissed my daughter's milky-cheeked face. My daughter curled her arms softly around my neck and called, sticky-voiced, Mama. The steadiness of this moment could iron out every crease of the past. Regrets. I regret not meeting the right person sooner. Alex and I were neighbors, practically childhood sweethearts. He was 3 years older. As a kid, he was my devoted protector whom I trailed after everywhere. When someone snatched my candy, he'd roll up his sleeves and fight them. Everyone laughed and said Nina was Alex's little shadow, impossible to shake off. I thought we'd stay that way forever until Vivian appeared. She was Alex's junior from university, delicate and fragile, speaking in a soft, whispery voice. She started sticking to Alex under the pretense of asking questions and doing projects together. At first, I didn't pay it any mind. Alex always had admirers, but in his eyes, there was only me. I trusted him. The first time something felt off was at a friend's barbecue. We played Truth or Dare. Vivian lost and chose Dare. The punishment was to reveal a small secret about someone present. Her gaze swept the circle and finally landed on me. Face innocent and apologetic, she said, Nina, I'm sorry. I accidentally saw the last time you got out of a really expensive car, and the driver was a pretty handsome older man. The room went silent instantly. Several glances flicked toward Alex. The smile on Alex's face vanished. He was just giving me a lift. I hastened to explain. He's a client on his way to drop me off. The owner of the partner company. His kids are already in middle school. Ah, I see. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Vivian hurriedly waved her hand, her eyes tearing. I really didn't know. I just said it without thinking. She looked so flustered. She was about to cry. Everyone hurried to smooth things over, and the matter was put to rest. But that night, Ching had a snide tone. A client? What client buys a limited edition luxury car and personally drives you home? I showed him the chat history on my phone. Look, the work group is all talking about this project. Mr. Lee just gave me a lift for a bit because it was on his way. He studied it for a long while, then snorted. Sure. He said he believed me, but I knew the nail of suspicion had already been driven in. Since then, Vivian kept murmuring in Alex's ear without meaning to. Senior brother. Nina is really amazing. Clients all value her so much. She has so many social obligations. Yesterday, I saw Nina and that director having coffee. They were so absorbed in conversation. Nina is so outstanding. She must have lots of people chasing her, right? You should keep a close eye on her. She never spoke ill of me directly. Every sentence was praise. Every sentence insinuated that I was vain, a social butterfly, unsettled at home. Alex grew increasingly suspicious. We began having endless arguments. The spark was an industry cocktail party that Alex insisted I attend with him. At the reception, I ran into a senior colleague I'd worked with pleasantly before and chatted with him a bit more about industry news. Alex turned sullen on the spot, set down his glass, and left. I caught up with him at the hotel entrance. Alex, what's wrong with you this time? What's wrong with me? He scoffed. Nina, when you laugh and chat so warmly with other men, do you ever think of me? That's my senior. We were discussing business. Do we need to get that close to talk business? Do we need to smile that prettily? He growled. I looked at his face, furious from jealousy, and felt nothing but weariness. You're unreasonable. Right. I'm unreasonable. He grabbed my wrist with frightening force. Do you think I have no money or power that I can't compare to your big boss clients? Do you think I'm not good enough for you? He brought that up again. I shivered with anger. Alex, you bastard. I shrugged him off and walked away. That time, our Cold War lasted the longest. I thought it was just a lover's quarrel. We both needed space to calm down. Little did I know, Alex had something bigger planned behind my back. On the 10th day of our Cold War, Alex hadn't reached out, and neither had I. Before, when we argued, at most 2 days would pass before he'd come to make it up to me. This time he didn't. The engagement banquet was approaching. I figured he'd come around. The day before the engagement party, I received a text from Vivian. A photograph. Alex drunk, his head resting on her shoulder. Vivian snuggling against him, looking at the camera with a shy, triumphant smile. The caption read, "Seen your brother's in a bad mood. I'll take good care of him. Sister Nina, don't worry." I looked at the photo, my chest tightening. Still, I told myself he had only had too much to drink for socializing. On the day of the engagement banquet, I wore my most beautiful dress, intending to make the first move to reconcile. I found him backstage. He wore a sharp suit, handsome enough to make anyone's heart skip. When he saw me, his eyes slid away. Alex. I walked over, reaching to take his hand. Let's not make a scene, okay? He recoiled from me as if I'd touched something filthy, jerking his hand away. I was in heels and nearly fell. I stared at him in disbelief. The hall was full of guests. The MC was brilliant. We stood on the stage. The spotlights baked my skin until it felt hot. I forced myself to keep smiling. Alex, however, kept a cold face the whole time. When it came time to exchange engagement rings, he pulled his hand away from mine again. In front of all our friends and family, his voice was so cold it seemed to shed ice. Does it feel good to treat me like a stepping stone to climb onto higher branches? The room fell instantly silent. My mind went blank. Alex, what nonsense are you talking about? Nonsense. He snorted, pulling a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket. This is what Vivian found in your drawer. The transaction records between you and your sugar daddy, Mr. Lee. How many nice things did he buy you? Huh. He spread the paper and read it aloud. Limited edition bags, jewelry. The sums were staggering. Word by word, he nailed me to the pillar of shame. I didn't, I panicked. It's not mine. Not yours. Alex's gaze turned hard. The serial number on this matches the tag on the gift box she received. Nah. How long are you going to keep pretending? The splash of dirty water left me stunned. I looked down at the audience, my parents' pale faces, the Chang's look of disgust, the guests whispering and pointing. The whole world spun. After reading, Alex balled the paper up and slammed it into my face. Then he flung the engagement ring to the floor with force. May you and your sugar daddy enjoy 100 years of harmony, he said clearly. When he finished, he took Vivian, who had appeared at the right moment beside him with a worried look, and amid a flurry of murmurs, strode off. At that moment, my world collapsed. The engagement banquet turned into a farce. And in the eyes of relatives and friends, I became the notorious gold digger, cozying up to promising Alex while clinging to a tycoon. Rumors can kill. The Ching family tacitly accepted it all. I was completely disheartened with Alex and with the Changs. I didn't have the strength to explain anymore. To someone who doesn't believe you, any explanation is just a cover-up. I deleted every contact, took the child in my womb, and left. Chongqing. This city had nothing left that could make me stay. My childhood friend probably slipped the news of our chance encounter to Alex. My phone began to be bombarded by unknown numbers. Texts and friend requests kept coming. I ignored them all and blocked everyone. A few days later, just as I stepped out of the company, someone blocked my way. It was Alex. 5 years gone. He was in a suit and looked the part of a man, but there was more ferocity and weariness in his eyes. He stared at me, the white streaked with red. Why didn't you answer the phone? I said nothing, trying to walk past. He grabbed my wrist hard, squeezing until it hurt. Nina, answer me, he practically shouted. I winced in pain. We're over. Let go. My indifference completely set him off. Over? You say it's over and that's it? You vanished for 5 years and I've been searching for you for 5 years. You're my fiancé. What do you take me for? His accusation was absurd to the point of farce. You'd rather be with some random man who could have come from nowhere than come back to explain to me. Nah. Have you ever been sincere with me? Why won't you talk to me? He asked me whether I had ever been sincere. He asked why I didn't explain it to him. After he used a forged bank statement to publicly nail me to the pillar of gold-digging shame. After he left my reputation in tatters and pretended not to hear. After he paired up with Vivian and basked in success. He came running to ask me whether I had ever cared for him. Why wouldn't I explain it to him? I looked at his pained face and felt calm as a Deadpool. It was that girl on stage caught between our parents' disappointed eyes, the finger-pointing of friends and relatives, unable to utter a single defense. Who should have asked that question? Alex, where is your true heart? Shouldn't you give me an explanation? I looked at him coldly. Mr. Alex, please let go. Mr. Alex. He was taken aback for a moment, then as if pricked by a needle, grew even more agitated. What did you just call me? Nina, say it again. He tightened his grip, squeezing until my bones ached. You owe me an explanation. You owe me an account. There's nothing between us to account for, and I owe you no explanation. I tried hard to wrench myself free, but it was no use. He was too strong. While we were struggling, a soft, syrupy little voice sounded. Mom. I turned and saw my daughter bounding out of the office on her little short legs, holding up a doodle. Mom, look. The little flower I drew. A surge of strength burst through me, and I broke away from Alex, crouching to scoop up my daughter. Nonyo, what are you doing at the office? Her father brought her. My daughter wrapped her arms around my neck. I looked up and saw Ethan standing not far away, smiling at us. Beside him, Alex froze the moment he saw my daughter. His face went deathly pale in an instant. His eyes were glued to the child's face, his lips trembling, unable to speak. Ethan came over, naturally, took my daughter from my arms, and positioned me behind him. He looked at Alex, his gaze calm but carrying pressure. Sir, is there a problem? Alex looked as if he had just come to life again. His gaze moved from the child to Ethan's face and finally settled on me. In that look were shock, pain, and disbelief. Child, you really have a child. His voice was so soft, It was almost inaudible, yet filled with despair. I watched his distraught figure and felt not a shred of satisfaction, only annoyance. Yes, I have a child. When I was spat out at my most desperate, I met Ethan. He pulled me up from the mud. He gave me a home. He showed me that love is trust, is support, not suspicion and humiliation. Alex, what you see now is the sunny day I fought with all my strength to live into. And you're already the past tense that's been eliminated from the game. Alex seemed to go mad all at once, lunging suddenly as if to grab me. Nina, tell me this isn't true. Ethan raised a hand and stopped him. Ethan was taller than him, his posture straighter. Just standing there, he was like a wall. Mr. Alex, right? Ethan's tone was flat but carried an imperious warning. Keep away from my wife and daughter. Wife, daughter. Those words stabbed into Alex's chest like a knife. His face went even paler. He looked at me, a hint of pleading even in his eyes. Nina, just 5 minutes. Can we talk alone, please? He lowered himself, almost pathetic. 5 years ago, I might have softened. Now, I only felt disgust. No need, Mr. Alex. There's nothing to talk about, I said, then took Ethan's arm. Honey, let's go home. Nayo is hungry. Ethan smiled at me gently. Okay. He held our daughter. I linked my arm through his. The three of us turned and left. I didn't look back at Alex. I could feel that gaze from behind me, hot, pained, as if it would burn right through my back. I deliberately said brightly to Ethan, shall I steam an egg custard for Nayo tonight? Okay, and add the shrimp she likes. Dad is the best, our daughter cheered. The everyday conversations of the three of us were like countless needles stabbing into Alex's heart. I heard a suppressed sob from behind me. I didn't turn around, but I knew it was him, the man who had once been so proud, who had humiliated me in public, now only able to watch me leave in silence. He seemed to understand that I, who had once been willing to give him everything, truly didn't want him anymore. But after waiting painfully for 5 years, how could Alex just give up? He tracked down my home address. That night, the rain fell in sheets. I got off late from work. As soon as I reached the stairwell, I saw that dark figure. He stood in the rain without an umbrella, drenched through like a stray dog. When he saw me, he rushed over to block my way. Nah, do you hate me that much? His eyes were bloodshot, and he smelled of alcohol. What did I do wrong? Do you have to punish me like this? I laughed in anger. Alex, on what grounds are you asking me that? I haven't had a single good day in 5 years, he snarled. I've been waiting for you. What about you? You turn around and have a child with someone else. How can you be so cruel? Rain mixed with the water on his face. You couldn't tell whether it was rain or tears. That look of deep feeling would probably fool a lot of people into shedding tears. My indifference infuriated him, and 5 years of resentment finally erupted. That bank slip, you dare say it never existed? That Mr. Lee, you dare say you don't know him? Why didn't you explain at the time? If you had said a single word, I would have believed you. The cold of the rainy night was not 1/10,000th of his words. I was finally lit. Explain, I sneered. I said it wasn't me. Did you believe me, Alex? I stared at him word by word. That scrap of paper, I never even saw it. The things written on it, I never received a single one. Yet you insist I took them. Who exactly should be explaining to whom? The financier Mr. Lee you mentioned is my most important client and also a friend. His wife was my senior at school. They're a loving couple, and their family is very happy. Our relationship is purely professional. How many times have I told you that? Did you believe me? My voice trembled in the rain. Alex, did you know? After the engagement banquet, I found out I was pregnant. The morning sickness was severe, and I was in the hospital for a week. I tried to reach you to tell you about the child. And what happened? Your phone was answered by Vivian. She smiled and asked me, does Miss Nina still need anything? Seeing your brother is taking a shower. Alex's face turned ashen in an instant. After I was discharged, I wanted to wait for you downstairs at your office. I saw you come out with Vivian. She had her arm through yours, holding the umbrella for you, and you were smiling as you patted her head. In that moment, both the child and I were unnecessary to you. I met his shocked, guilty gaze. Did you ever try to explain? Alex, I really can't understand. You'd rather believe that scrap of paper Vivian forged than the years of love Na and I have shared. Is it that I'm not worthy of your trust? Or has your heart long since already turned toward Vivian? I looked at him, my eyes neither sad nor joyful. Alex, there is no such thing as unfounded favoritism in this world when you would rather believe someone else than me. I knew your heart had changed. You abandoned me and the child for Vivian. I'm not some worthless woman, Nina. Even if my trust was misplaced, I still had the courage to start over. My words struck him like thunder. He froze in place, trembling all over. No, it's not possible. He staggered backward, tripped on the step, and fell into the muddy water, sitting with a splash. Pregnant, a child. He clutched his hair in agony, curling up into a ball. That piece of paper. He lifted his head. Rain and tears smeared his face into a blur. It was Vivian. She said she found it in the corner of your drawer. She was afraid I'd be deceived by you. He began to speak incoherently as he recounted. She was always whispering in my ear that you thought I was poor, that you looked down on me, that you wanted someone richer. At the time, I was blinded by jealousy. He looked at me, his eyes full of desperate pleading. I was scared. I was afraid you'd really leave me. He finally tore open that ridiculous truth of his. I looked at him coldly without a flicker of feeling. So, this is your reason for publicly humiliating me? The reason you smeared me in front of all our relatives and friends? Alex, if you don't trust me and don't want to keep going with me, you could have told me to cancel the engagement banquet. But you didn't. Tell me, why didn't you cancel it in advance? Alex looked at me in agonized pain. Yet he said nothing. I sneered at him. If you won't say it, I'll speak. You just want to ruin me in front of all our friends and family, don't you, Alex? We've practically been childhood sweethearts for over a decade together. Even if we were to break up, even if you no longer loved me, did you have to be so cruel? Hurting someone you spent 10+ years with, does that make you feel better? No, nah. I was going to propose to you that day. I never meant to hurt you, but Vivian showed me those receipts, and I was jealous. I was angry. I was just so furious in the moment. The next day when I sobered up, I regretted it. He closed his eyes, racked with pain. I left you there, said those hurtful things to you. I'm a bastard. I regretted it long ago. But I couldn't bring myself to go find you. He laughed at himself, more pitiful than if he'd been crying. I thought you'd still be the same as before. No matter how I acted out, you'd come back in the end. I waited for you. I've always waited for you to find me, but all I waited for was your disappearance. He opened his eyes, which were full of crazed paranoia. I hate that you're heartless, and I damn well miss you until I'm going crazy. Being with Vivian was to spite you, to make you regret it. Nothing happened between us. It was all an act. You're the only one in my heart. What a ridiculous reason. What a laughable tantrum. Because of his pathetic pride, because of his childish jealousy, coupled with Vivian's calculated scheming, all those years of our relationship shattered like a joke. I looked at the man before me, weeping uncontrollably, and felt nothing but estrangement. We ended a long time ago. Alex broke down. He knelt in the rain, clutching my legs, sobbing. Nina, I was wrong. I really was wrong. Forgive me. Let's start over. I'll fire Vivian right away. Make it up to you. We'll go back to how things were, okay? I calmly pushed his hand aside. The rain was cold, but my heart was still. It's too late, Alex. I looked down at him. There's no room for you in my life anymore. His sob caught in his throat as he stared at me in despair. Then he seemed to remember something. No, Nina, we still have a daughter, Nyongyo. Isn't she my daughter? You said you were pregnant when you left. Alex sounded like he was clutching at a final straw. Yes, Nyo must be my daughter. Nah, for our daughter's sake, can't we get back together? I sneered at him. Alex, Don't deceive yourself. Nyongyo just turned 3 this year. And our daughter, while you and Vivian were cozying up to each other, chose to leave. I had intended to keep that child. But in my depression, I ultimately couldn't hold on to her. Alex was badly shaken, his eyes full of despair. I felt no pity. What I'm saying today isn't to make you regret anything, and it's not to make you take revenge on anyone. It's just to clear my name and my daughter's. Alex, we've known each other for over 10 years. You know what kind of person I am. If I were vain, there were plenty of people more suitable than you courting me back then. Why would I have resolutely chosen you? I even took extra work after my regular job because of your mother's illness. You saw everything I did. Thinking back now, I truly despise the person I was then. Alex, I don't hate you, but I don't want to see you. After all, because of you, I've been pointed at and belittled by those around me. You ought to try living through the days of being singled out and insulted. Those 10+ years of friendship, it's my own failing at judging people that led to you ruining my reputation. I accept that. But now, my marriage is loving and my family is happy. I hope you stop bothering me. Leave and don't come back to my city. If we meet in the future, let's be strangers. After all, you hurt me, and I cannot repay evil with kindness. These are the last words. After speaking, I turned and went back into the building. Behind me, he screamed and cried as if his heart was being torn apart. Later, I heard about him in dribs and drabs. After he returned, he truly seemed to go mad and wrecked Vivian's small company, making it impossible for her to stay in Jiangqing. But he ruined himself, too. Drinking all day, barely managing the company. It was said to be nearly stripped bare. Men, when they make mistakes, always shift the blame onto others. It seems they never look for the problem within themselves. But I no longer cared. Whether he was wrong or right, it was no longer any of my business. I never expected him to find Ethan and hand him a check to make him leave me. Instead, Ethan knocked him flat with a single punch and warned him that if he came near again, he'd ruin him. After that, he never showed up again. 6 months later, on an ordinary weekend, I took my daughter to the park. On a bench there, I saw a familiar yet strange figure of decay. It was Alex, thin to the point of wasting away, unshaven, his eyes hollow as he watched my daughter and me playing in the sand. I didn't linger. Just then, Ethan finished parking and walked over. He naturally picked up our dirt-smudged daughter and reached out to take my hand. Come on, Mom's made soup. Go back and have some. Okay. I nodded with a smile. The 3 of us, hand in hand, walked toward the parking lot. The person on that bench was only a passing shadow from the past, no longer capable of stirring even a ripple. Until a week later, I received a phone call. The number showed as Zhongqing. I meant to hang up, but somewhat compulsion made me answer. On the other end, the voice was both familiar and strange. Nah, it's me, Grace. It's Alex's mother. The one who once treated me like a half-daughter, yet when I needed her most, watched coldly from the sidelines and then with the gentlest words said, "She doesn't blame me anymore." Is something the matter? My voice was flat. There was a pause on the other end, as if she hadn't expected me to be so distant. Nina, can we meet? My instinct was to refuse. I didn't want anything more to do with the Qing family, but her next sentence made me change my mind. I know it was the Qing family who wronged you back then. She sighed. I don't mean anything else. I just want to apologize to you in person. An apology? I'm a little surprised. With her temperament, she would never bow her head unless it was absolutely necessary. I was silent for a few seconds, then agreed. You picked the time and place. I thought it was time to draw a definitive period at the end of the past. We agreed on a cafe near my office. When I arrived, she was already there. Years of absence had taken their toll. Her carefully tended face had slackened. Gray showed at her temples and she looked worn. She forced a smile and stood when she saw me approach. Nah, you're here. I nodded and sat down. Auntie, speak plainly if there's something. I got straight to the point. My bluntness made her smile falter. She ordered a cup of coffee for me, lowering herself. Nina, I know you resent me. She didn't look at me, staring at the coffee cup. Back then, it was Auntie's mistake. I shouldn't have listened to Vivian's instigation. I shouldn't have said those things to hurt you. I've always regarded you as a daughter, but regarding Alex, I admit I was selfish. She looked up, tears glinting in her eyes. I was afraid he'd act on his emotions and ruin his prospects. I thought Vivian's family background could help him. I was blind. I wronged you. As she spoke, she even tried to stand and bow. I didn't move, watching calmly. There's no need for that. I didn't accept it. I knew the apology wasn't pure. Sure enough, after a bout of contrition, her true intention was revealed. Alex, his dying. She choked, tears falling. Since he learned the truth, he shut himself away and just drank. The company collapsed. His ruined. A few days ago, he drank so much his stomach perforated and they rushed him to the hospital. He almost didn't make it. She wiped her eyes, face full of grief. The doctor says he doesn't want to live. He's full of remorse. Keeps calling your name. I listened quietly, feeling nothing. Serves him right. It has nothing to do with me. Nina, I beg you. She suddenly grabbed my hand, cold and trembling. Go see him, talk to him, please. Only you can save him. If you would forgive him, he could live. I looked at her tears and felt nothing but irony. 5 years ago, she urged me to let go because she no longer blamed me. 5 years later, she begged me to come back because only I could save her son. What am I, Auntie? In her eyes. A medicine to be used and dismissed at will. I slowly pried her fingers apart one by one. Auntie. I looked into her eyes and said clearly, first, I'm married. I have a husband and a daughter, and I'm happy. I will not hurt my family for anyone. Second, Alex is where he is today, not because of me, but because of his own stupidity, his suspicions, and the indulgence of your family. Third, whether he's dead or alive is none of my business. I'm not a bodhisattva. I don't have a saintly wish to save all beings, and I'm certainly not going to save someone who once hurt me. So, please, from now on, don't look for me again. When I finished speaking, I stood up, didn't look at her, and turned to leave. At the door, I heard her muffled sobs. I didn't look back. The bitter fruits of the Ching family were of their own making. They planted the seeds the day they abandoned sincerity and trust. Life is yours to live. I had long ago learned not to waste my emotions on people who don't matter. Back home, Ethan seemed to sense something was off. That night, he specially made my favorite sweet and sour spare ribs. After dinner, he took it upon himself to wash the dishes and tell Nio her bedtime story. Nyongyo wrapped her arms around his neck and in a babbling voice asked, Daddy, are you going to tell the story about defeating the big bad dragon today? Ethan smiled and rubbed her cheek. Okay, I'll tell how Daddy protects Mommy and Yonyo and defeats every big bad dragon who tries to cause trouble. I leaned against the door frame, watching the affectionate silhouettes of father and daughter under the warm light, and the little stir of emotions the past had stirred within me finally settled. This is my present and my future, solid, warm, and full of a sense of safety. Alex and the storm he brought had long since been cut off from my world. I thought that after that conversation, the Chim family would finally understand my position, but I had underestimated some people's obsessions, or rather the madness that comes when you have nowhere left to turn. A few days later, I was in a meeting with the team when the receptionist's internal line came through. Her tone was hesitant. Nina, there's a gentleman downstairs who says it's extremely urgent that he see you. He says if you don't see him, he won't leave. My brows tightened in an instant. Alex, he actually found my company. Tell him I'm in a meeting, not available. Tell him to leave immediately or I'll have security escort him out. My voice cooled. Okay, Nina. After hanging up, I took a deep breath, forcing down the irritation and focusing on the meeting. But as the meeting drew to a close, a commotion rose from downstairs. There sounded like an argument. My heart dropped. My assistant hurried in looking troubled. Nina, the man downstairs, insisted on coming up and got into a confrontation with security. He really wouldn't leave me alone. I stood up and told the team, "Sorry, we'll continue the meeting later." I kept my face calm and walked quickly toward the elevator. In the lobby on the first floor, Alex was indeed being held back by two security guards. His hair was disheveled, his eyes hollowed, his suit wrinkled. Gone was his former swagger, replaced by a kind of paranoid madness. "Nah, Nina, come out. I know you're here. Why won't you save me? Why are you so cruel?" he shouted, trying to break free from the guards. When he saw me appear, his eyes suddenly lit up as if he'd seized a lifeline. "Nah, you agreed to see me. Please listen, Alex." I cut him off, my voice devoid of warmth, sounding particularly clear in the lobby. "This is a workplace. Please leave immediately and stop harassing my staff, or I'll call the police." "Call the police. Go ahead and call them." Alex seemed provoked, smiling in a way that was worse than crying. "Let the cops come see how cold-blooded you are. Watching me die and refusing to lend a hand. Whether you live or die is none of my concern." I looked at him, each word precise. 5 years ago at that engagement banquet, you and the Ching family already severed everything between us with your own hands. Seeing you like this now only makes me feel ridiculous and pitiable." "Ridiculous? Pitiable?" he muttered, then suddenly shoved the security guard with force and lunged at me, trying to grab my shoulder. I had been on my guard and stepped back to avoid him. The nearby security guard immediately stepped forward and pinned him down. "Nah, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I truly can't be without you. Please give me one more chance." He was suppressed, only able to glare at me with bloodshot eyes, tears mixed with snot streaming down, utterly without dignity. "That child, our child, it's my damn fault. I shouldn't have listened to others' provocations. Give me a chance to make it up to you, to make it up to the child. You don't know. These days, whenever I close my eyes, I see a girl lunging at me. That child is Nio. Tell me, is Nio really my child? If she is, I'll give her all my assets. Consider it compensation to you." "Compensation?" I felt as if I'd heard the biggest joke. "Alex, because of your distrust and betrayal, she never got to be born into this world. The current Yonyo is only 3 years old and is the daughter of my husband, Ethan. Don't go around claiming daughters." Those words were like the sharpest knife, utterly shattering the last of his illusions. He froze completely. The madness in his eyes faded bit by bit, leaving only a vast void and despair. "No, it's gone," he murmured in a daze. "Really gone." I glanced at him one last time. The boy I had once loved with all my heart had long since become a stranger. "Please escort this gentleman out. If he comes near the company or anywhere near me again, call the police immediately," I said to the security guard. I turned toward the elevator and never looked back. Behind me came his complete collapse, a whimper like a trapped beast. Later, I heard from others that after I utterly broke Alex that day, the Ching family took him home. He seemed to have fallen seriously ill, body and mind shattered, and vanished entirely from Jiangqing's circles of influence. The Ching company also went from bad to worse and was eventually acquired. His mother seemed to age 20 years overnight, losing the sharpness and superiority she once wore so easily, and all of that became nothing more than fodder for other people's gossip. To me, it was a story from a past life, impossibly distant. On another sunny weekend, the three of us went out to the countryside for a picnic. Nyongyo chased butterflies across the grass, her tinkling laughter scattering through the sky like silver bells. Ethan spread out the picnic blanket and took out one by one the snacks I love. I watched his focused profile, my heart filled to the brim. "What are you looking at?" He noticed my gaze, turned with a smile, and naturally slipped his arm around me. Looking at how handsome my husband is, I leaned on his shoulder and said with a smile. He bent down and kissed the top of my head. "Wife is even more handsome. Back then, you didn't hesitate to take in this crooked neck tree of mine." We smiled at each other. Yes, only by leaving the wrong can you meet the right. The old wounds and betrayals had long since been soothed by time and by the love of the person before me, turned into armor that made me stronger. In the distance, Nyongyo came running toward us, holding up a little wildflower. "Daddy, Mommy, this is for you." We laughed as we caught her small body as she leapt into our arms. The sunlight poured warmly over us, stretching the three of our shadows long and stretching our happiness even longer. Those scenes of waiting for kowtowing and repentance ultimately became nothing more than a sigh of pity on other people's lips. And in the script of my life, that heavy page has long since been turned, replaced by a brand new chapter full of sunshine.